Session of the Jackson County Board of Education is now called to order. This meeting has a couple different parts. One, we've got some general business to take care of, and then we have some discipline issues to address. We are going to take care of our general business first, and at the when that is finished, then we're going to take up our discipline hearings. At that time, we'll ask everybody who is not involved in a discipline hearing to leave this boardroom, and then we'll take care of that. So hopefully you'll have all the general business that you probably have come for taken care of, and then you'll be satisfied with that. So as our custom, we're going to start this board meeting with a reflection, a silent reflection and prayer, and to think about the things that are going on in our nation. And Lord knows we have enough tragedy. So we need to think about those situations, and also the situations that we need to be thankful for, because we do live in a great nation, and we need to be thankful for that. So if you'll bow with me, please. Thank you. First on our agenda, we have a motion to approve the agenda as it is presented, but I know that we do have one change on that. And if you will look with me under personnel actions, item J, we're going to strike that one and set it aside. Correct, Mr. Jukes?
That is correct.
I'll set J aside, so now we have A through I on that. And were there anything else that needs to be changed on it?
We need to approve to be presented with.
Yes, under personnel actions, A, that is something we're not voting on today. We're just going to be presented. That's going to be presented to us for consideration at our next board meeting. So with those explanations, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as it is presented?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Story makes a motion to approve that agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gant seconds that. Any discussion about the agenda? We'll move to approve that. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Yes?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself. And that motion carries, so the agenda is approved. Under personnel actions, we have consider a motion to approve the social worker job description. At this time, we're going to let Ms. Wheeler based on that, please.
What I'm asking you to look at is a job posting for a social worker. This is a grant, the High Hopes Appropriations, the at-risk money that is provided by the state. This is not something that'll come out of our general fund. This is a contract position that will run from whenever you approve this person until August 30th. I asked for $65,000, I only got $40,000, but that is enough to hire a social worker. This person will work with our at-risk students, and I find most of those through truancy. They will go into the homes and work with the homes to help eradicate any barriers that the students are having. Most of the time, if a child is truant, there's problems in the home. This person will work with our teachers, our principals, with children that are having problems. Most school systems, well, a lot of school systems across our state are now hiring social workers, a lot of social workers, because as you know, a lot of the problems that we see do stem from our homes. Our teachers and our administrators are doing a great job, but we're just having so much trouble there. DHR does not have enough people there to help within our homes, so that's why school systems are now hiring social workers. So what you've been provided is in a job description for a contract position that will only run through August 30th. They will work through August 30th. They'll be paid. This is just for a fiscal year. This is for the 2018 fiscal year, this money is. So that's what I'm asking you to look at to approve this job description.
Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. Like I said, we won't be voting on that today, but that will lay, and we'll take that up at our next meeting. So. Under A, I have A again. It says consider a motion to transfer Lindsay Hughes from Secretary at Epcot to Secretary at North Jackson High School effective 10/9/17.
I move to transfer Lindsay from Epcot to North Jackson.
Mr. West makes that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gant seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself, yes, and that motion carries. Under employee, consider a motion to employ Shasta Barnes as a pre-K aide at Dutton effective 10/4/17. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Story seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself, yes, and that motion carries. Item B, consider a motion to employ Melissa Womack as a countywide instructional aide effective 9/25/17.
I make that move.
Mr. Gant makes a motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself is yes, and that motion carries. Item C, consider a motion to employ Michelle Willis as a 21st century after-school teacher at Bridgeport Middle School effective 10/5/17.
I make that move.
Story makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. West seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself is yes, and that motion carries. Item D, consider a motion to employ Gayla Moss as a 21st century after-school teacher at Bridgeport Middle effective 10/5/17.
I'll make the move.
Okay, Mr. Story makes that move. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. West, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself is yes, the motion carries. Under item E, consider a motion to employ Rena Hutchison as a 21st century after-school teacher at Bridgeport Middle effective 10/5/17. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Story seconds that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Then Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself is a yes, that motion carries. Item F, consider a motion to employ Angela Kelly as a 21st century after-school site coordinator at Bridgeport Middle School effective 10/5/17. So this is a site coordinator.
I'll make the motion. We approve the site coordinator.
Okay, Mr. Story makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Guest seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guest?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself is a yes, motion carries. G, consider a motion to employ Mag Smith as a 21st century after-school site coordinator at Pisgah High School effective 10/5/17.
I make that move.
Mr. Gant makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. West, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote on that. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself is a yes, motion carries. Item H, consider a motion to employ Marcia Goff as a 21st century after-school teacher at Pisgah effective 10/5/17.
I make that move.
Mr. Gant makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. West seconds. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself is a yes, and that motion carries. Under I, consider a motion to employ Mary Benson as a 21st century after-school teacher at Pisgah effective 10/5/17.
I so move.
All right, yeah, Mr. Short makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gant seconds that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, move to vote. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself is a yes, and that motion carries. Item J has been scratched. Under coaching, we have considered a motion to approve Eric Peacock as a volunteer coach at Bridgeport Middle School.
I make a motion we approve Eric as a volunteer coach at Bridgeport.
Mr. Story makes that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. West seconds that. Is there any discussion? Mr. Davis provided some information, I think, or Beverly did one as far as credentialing on that, so we have that. If there's nothing else, we'll vote. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
And myself is yes, and Mr. Peacock has been approved, motion carries. I'm going to bump and tell you that our next, regular scheduled board meeting is gonna be the October the 19th at 4:30. So, that concludes the general business on our agenda, so we're gonna start our discipline hearings now, so if you're not a part of the discipline hearing, we'll ask you to step out and,
We need to make a motion to go into executive session.
we wouldn't have to. So, if anybody wants to go out now, they can. We have voted and we are now out of executive session, so Mr. Dukes, do you want to, we have a recommendation for student A, discipline for student A. We have we don't need to read that, do we, at all?
The recommendation, you don't have to, as
Okay.
long as it's in the minutes, that's the right.
It's in the minutes, so we will not read those, we're just gonna take them as the recommendation, we know what that is, so, for student A, we have a recommendation from superintendent on discipline. We have a motion.
I make the motion on A.
Mr. Story makes a motion on A, is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Guest seconds that, is there any discussion? We'll move to vote, Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guest?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself, and that motion carries. For student B, the recommendation from the superintendent on discipline for student B.
I make that move.
Mr. West makes a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gant, is there any discussion? Move to vote, Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Motion carries for a recommendation on student B. We have a recommendation for discipline concerning student C.
I make that move.
Mr. West makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Story seconds that. Any discussion? We'll move to vote. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
Myself is a yes, and that motion carries. We have a recommendation from the superintendent on student D concerning discipline.
I make that move.
Mr. West makes a motion. I'll second that. Is there any discussion? Move to vote. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Dr. Guess?
Yes.
Mr. Gant?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. We've already made our announcements of our next scheduled board meeting, which will be October the 19th at 4:30. And the next thing on our agenda is to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Mr. West makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Story, anybody want to discuss that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. We are now adjourned. Thank you.